Hey everyone, it's Janaea from Creative Space Studios. This week we're going to be covering shooting with a main light or key light, this guy right here. And we're going to be shooting with a diffuser and without a diffuser, and we're going to talk all about how to shoot with a one light setup. Here we go. So today I'm shooting with my daughter's little cat. I couldn't find a model in time, but hey, that's real life, right? Okay, so we're gonna start with the basics. You have your subject, you know how to set up your light, everything's ready, now what? So I'm gonna show you a couple of positions to put your light in for different types of effects. So before you start shooting, I'm gonna go over some basic settings that you need to follow. I always like to know the rules and practice them, and then if I want to break them, I do that later. But because this is studio lighting basics, I'm just gonna teach you the basics. And I'm totally leaving my glasses on this cat because it's hilarious. So for studio lighting, the general rule is your shutter speed can't be higher than 1/200th of a second. If you have, for these ones, for these alien bees, that's the general rule. Your ISO is going to be, I would say ISO 100. You could also shoot at 200. It'll help the shadows a little bit, but with what we're covering, I don't think you really have to worry about that. So I would start at 100 and play around, but because we're gonna introduce reflectors and a secondary light source, I wouldn't worry about it. Your f-stop is gonna be f8 and kind of play around and see what that looks like. Sometimes just depending on how much light, like I'm not covering the windows at all, so I might need a higher f-stop because there's a lot of light coming in here. We can use the light blocking shades. In fact, I might do that just to show you the difference. But those are general settings to set you up to shoot with these. If you go over 1/200th of a second for your shutter speed, you're gonna get some banding. And banding is basically you get a black bar across your images, and I'll show you what that looks like too. That basically means that your shutter is moving faster than the light is coming out. Okay, so I'm gonna start shooting. I'm gonna tell you what my settings are on and what the alien bee setting is on. Behind, or on the side where you can't see, all of the windows are open. There's a ton of light coming in. You don't have to shoot like that, but I don't feel like it makes a difference unless you're really trying something else. I think it's fine. My f-stop is way high, so it's not really catching a lot of that. My settings are, my shutter is 1/200th of a second. I'm at f8, ISO 100, and the alien bee is at 1/8 power. So like I said, it doesn't seem like it's that much light, but it is actually. So I'm gonna take a couple shots and talk about what you see. Okay, so that's straight on. I'm gonna feather it now. So the general rule that I learned in a lighting class is when you're lighting your subjects, you actually, it's counterintuitive. You wanna put the light away. The general rule is that if you were to draw a line from the edge of your light source to the edge or maybe ear or nose of your subject, they should be lining up. So right now I have it lined up with the kitten's ear right here. And you'll see the difference in doing that for two reasons. So yeah, that's a dramatic difference. So the first one, the light source was pointing all the way directly onto the subject, but it was also opening itself up to the backdrop. And so it's putting light, all of this is going onto the backdrop and onto your subject. I'm not saying this is wrong. I'm saying if that's what you want to achieve, do it. But if you don't want a ton of light going on your backdrop, which in some cases, like for artistic reasons or whatever, you want a really moody, dark, contrasty look, you would want to feather it out, have the edge of the umbrella match the cheek, I would say cheekbone, ear, it's kind of like in the same area, to your subject. And that is gonna create, so like the back of the umbrella, it's this cord. The back of this umbrella is black, so there's no light escaping from the back of this. So you're creating a feather effect. All of this light travels in a straight line. And so when you have it off to the side at a 45-degree angle, or even like on the side just a little bit off, you're gonna get some light that's coming onto your subject, but it's not gonna be overpowering. Does that make sense? So, and there's no light coming off the back, so it's darkening your backdrop. So now I'm gonna come at a 45-degree angle here. Let's see, yeah, 45-degree angle. And notice how I'm staying pretty much the same distance away from my subject. We'll get into like proximity in a little bit. But just for simplicity's sake, I'm staying at the same basic distance. So I'm gonna shoot 45 degrees head on and show you the difference there. So you can see the difference with the 45-degree angle light source. You're starting to get a little shadow on the left side or the right side of your subject. And that's really good. I like that little shadow. It's casting on your subject's face a little bit. It's nice and light. It's not super harsh. It's good. It's good. So now I'm going to show you the way that I like to shoot. And because, let's see, I'm like trying to make sure that I'm not covering. I like to shoot my subject from behind in some cases. Keep your head up, kitty. I'm gonna raise this just a tad. Oops. So this gives a brighter look. Because I'm raising the light source up and because light travels in a straight line, the light is coming down this way, so all the shadows are down here. And sometimes when I shoot, I just don't want shadows, so that's how I shoot. Sometimes you do want shadows, or sometimes you just want a little shadow. But for this instance, I'm shooting with no shadows because I like how it looks. Okay, so for this comparison, I am actually going to put my subject in front of the light. I'm gonna make this go all the way down. I don't know if this is gonna work because I don't have an actual person. But we'll see. This is real life, guys. As photographers, we are creative problem solvers, and sometimes we just have to wing it. So, I am going to straighten this out so it's just straight up and down. And let's see how this works. We're gonna adjust Kitty's face because it looks like Kitty is just getting bored. Okay, here we go. So this isn't the perfect picture, I'm just gonna say, but I was gonna push my glasses up. But you get, if you can imagine a person, you put your subject behind all of this. So you're not gonna see any of the black or the alien bee and all that kind of stuff. But if you pay attention to what the light looks like, if you look at the picture, it actually has a really cool effect. Really, really cool effect. And you just have like a bright white background as well. So those are some options for you to shoot with a one light setup with a diffuser. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how to shoot with a one light source and a reflector and how those two work together. So I have my subject here, Mr. Kitty, the reflector on this side, the light source on that side. Depending on how much fill you want from the reflector, you're gonna put it either closer or further away. Right now I have the reflector an equal distance away from the subject as I do the light. So they're equal distances, so it should be pretty even. So I'm gonna show you what this looks like. Also, sometimes if you take a break from shooting and then you go back to shooting again, for some odd reason, I don't know why, but you have to do the test button again for it to like sync back. I don't know, things aren't perfect, whatever, you roll with it. Perfect. Okay, so that's what it looks like. You can see, I'm gonna compare the picture without the reflector at the very beginning and this picture now. And so I'm gonna do one with it a little feathered off at 45 degrees, like this. And you can see how that lighting, just by inching it away just a little bit, affects the tone and the feeling of the photograph so drastically. It's crazy. It's so fun. I love studio lighting, guys. It's just so interesting. So if you want a dark background, you want to push your subject away from the background. If you want a light background, you want them closer, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so I have Kitty probably about 4-ish feet away from the wall, and I have my light feathered. I'm gonna maybe pick this up. You're going on a journey with me, guys. There we go. That way you can see it better. So I have Kitty here. I have the edge of the light source lined up. I could actually move it forward a little bit so that the edge is lining up with his ear. And I'll show you what that looks like. But we're far away from the back of the wall, or from the front of the wall. All right, and so now I'm gonna take this position, the same exact position and everything, but I'm gonna move it closer to the wall. So you can see that this angle is creating a shadow on the right side. I'm going to just shoot straight on. And that produces a lot even lighting. But if I were to do the same thing, so I'm gonna bring this up here because I changed the position of the light. I just want to demonstrate this rule though. So I'm gonna come all the way up here, but I'm not gonna have it feathered, I'm just gonna have it straight on. But we're gonna be farther away from the wall. And I don't have it super close. I have it maybe, I don't know distances, guys. It's that far away. Like an arm length. I don't know. I'm also out of focus. This camera's good sometimes. And it's getting really bright. Okay, here we go, Mr. Kitty. Take 2. Okay, so you can see the difference between it being close to the wall or backdrop and farther away. It definitely makes a difference and darker. So depending on what kind of picture you want to create, think about the proximity of your subject to the background. And that will affect it being lighter or darker.